Chapter 17. The year 128 was the year in which the Universal House of Justice called for international traveling teachers, and I immediately responded. Elaine, that pure-hearted and selfless Knight of Baha'u'llah, was having difficulty with the language and the customs of Mexico. Schooling for children was non-existent in the areas in which I was working. Since I would be off for days on end, sometimes even months, teaching in remote areas of Mexico, the family felt they could not cope alone in such an unfamiliar culture. The Universal House of Justice responded, stating they would suggest that I remain in Mexico. Again, I can only say I long with all my heart to sacrifice something for the cause of God. No year in my life has ever been so fruitful in the hundreds of declarations or in the miles traveled. I lived in a little tent and went from village to village. Every night, home was wherever I happened to be. I taught all through Central America on my way to the Intercontinental Conference in Panama. Every day saw miracles such as I have already described. I will mention here only a few that were just a little out of the ordinary. We were in a little village called La Fe, which translated means the faith. Oaxaca, running the movie His Name Shall Be One with a Spanish language tape. This night I had 2 youths and a Mayan couple with me. After the movie, the first ever seen there, the boys put the equipment away and I noted something unusual. All the males, including children, carried machetes. One person, as spokesman, came forward and demanded that I show the movie again. I pointed out that the light plant needed gas that we did not have, and it would be impossible. "You show the movie again, or we are going to cut you all up with our machetes." The men all waved their machetes over their heads and cried, "Yay, yay, yay!" The Mayan couple ran over and locked themselves in a truck. I answered, "You will just have to start cutting," and I sat there calmly. The leader called the conference, returned and stated, "You show the movie again or we are going to cut up your truck and you will be unable to leave." The action was repeated in chorus by everyone with "Yay, yay, yay." My reply was the same. So back to the conference, and this time the spokesman returned and said in a very gentle voice, "If you will please show the movie again, we will all become Baha'is." Once more, all raised their machetes over their heads and shouted in unison, "Yay, yay, yay." I explained, "My friends and brothers, I can't show the movie as I do not have sufficient gasoline for the light plant. But even then, if I could, I wouldn't on those conditions. One's belief in Baha'u'llah springs from the heart and soul and is not conditioned upon seeing a movie. In the future, when any of you have this true belief in God's new messenger, we will accept you with open arms into the cause of God." With that, I folded up my table and chair and retired to my tent for the night. This was not the only time I have been threatened. One time I was even arrested and put in jail, and in this manner was able to proclaim the message of Baha'u'llah to an entire town, otherwise an impossible feat. On another occasion in the town of Ixtepeje, Oaxaca, where in the past I had confronted trouble with the church and various people, after I showed the movie and told them about Baha'u'llah, the people sat as if in a trance for a long time. Later, when I was in my tent and nearly asleep, the church bells went wild, and soon, sure enough, I could hear footsteps gathering around my tent. I thought, oh, here it comes. But I was surprised when they began to sing. They sang all the religious songs they knew there in the high Sierras, with a full mountain moon, and all gathered around my tent, singing to me songs of God's love and love of God. My heart pleads with you, O my friends, abandon your abodes of dust, that you also might taste the delights of this paradise of confirmation while yet walking upon the earth. In Yucatan, we had marvelous victories. In one evening, 33 declarations. The most we had anywhere else in one evening was 19 in Oaxaca. When I was nearly finished in the northeast of Mexico, I received a letter from the International Goals Committee asking if I could stop in Africa on my way to Haifa for the election of the Universal House of Justice. I was going to Haifa as a member of the National Assembly of Mexico. I still had the northern part of Mexico to cover and was very busy. I also wanted to spend a little time with my family before going to Iran and Haifa. So I threw the letter in my suitcase, saying to myself it wasn't possible. That night after the movie, the motor fell out of my truck, the first trouble in thousands of miles. Coincidence? Perhaps, but read on. The following night, the last projector bulb I had burned out. Well, I borrowed a projector from the American Embassy in Yucatan and arranged for them to get more bulbs. Several nights later, a film, tapes, and equipment were stolen from my truck. As I lay in my tent that night, the movie was definitely over. I said, "All right, Baha'u'llah, I got the message. I'm going to Africa." When I arrived in Mexico City, we received a phone call that most of the equipment had been recovered.